So we have a new version of Wirecast to decide to test out, I should say. Um, Today obviously was a big day. Hopefully we have a couple of bug fixes that we've been basically waiting for ages. Wirecast beta 13.2 has dropped. We saw that today. About 2 hours ago, it was actually dropped. I haven't done anything with it other than installing it and giving it a once quick open just to make sure that obviously it installed correctly. Not only Wirecast but other things. You can have it so that if you do an upgrade process, especially to a beta, it doesn't obviously work first time. So I have gone through. I've opened it once, shut it down. In fact, actually, the only thing I really did, I opened it once, opened up the help menu, cleared the preferences just so that there was no coming in from past versions or whatnot. Everything's been wiped. Even restarted my device, my computer here. Pretty powerful GPU, CPU here, but we'll be giving this a bit of a test for some of the bug fixes and new improvements, just ad hoc. I want to go through this. I want to document my experiences with this and see where things that I've seen having issues in the past, see if they still have those issues and compare those to what we're seeing. So obviously we've got a rundown of the different improvements, quickly going over some of the things that really catch my eye. LinkedIn, don't really use it, that's fine. This added font face pop-up, this is specifically, I'm assuming, associated to my 2014 February 6th or whatever it was bug that I've had in here for ages. I'm seeing an interesting Wirecast thing on this, but there are a couple of mentions of font family, font faces, and whatnot throughout this. The pop-up to do that. Oscar, that's fine, whatever. Text improvements is something that they mentioned directly in here. This is a very old bug, but apparently nobody else was having other than me, even though everybody else was able to replicate it. Other things to take note of that I have seen here. There is an enabled GPU decoding for NDI. That's huge. That there is likely specifically because Skype uses NDI out for a lot of people. And what that was happening was anytime there was an NDI coming in from Skype or coming in from an external computer, or even from the same computer using Titler Live, it was using the CPU to do the decoding, meaning that it was a massive impact on the CPU. Really bad that that wasn't enabled to begin with, but I'm glad to see, obviously, that GPU decoding is in there now. Solid color, great, awesome. Surprised that wasn't. Was obviously something I never ran across, but again, it's a fairly old thing. Interesting to say the least. Bit of a makeover for a lot of the stuff. I'm surprised to see they did things like updating the SDK for 4.5 and NDI, but they waited for that update. A lot of things I'd love to see in the future is faster turnaround on these updates. If you have a new version of NDI that's coming out, especially if you're teaming up with other pieces of software that use NDI, you need to be on top of this, meaning that those need to be weekly or bi-weekly updates, even if they're minor little things to do things like updating NDI SDKs. Just getting it out there and doing, obviously, the bigger ones like the adding a new color key, which, interestingly enough, the color key, I've had that in there as a love to see feature for a while. Jesus, 2 years ago, I think I saw an update come through that's, yeah, we want to work on this. Yes, it's something that we're interested in. I don't have the green screen set up right now, but it is something that I have done in the past. Obviously, with frizzy hair due to quarantine and no haircuts and whatnot. Not that I'm complaining; it's not really my thing anyway. Chroma key right now isn't a big option for me, at least something that's not really interested. But I'm probably going to take a look at that tomorrow or the next day, see how that goes. The rebuilding of the multi-view, interesting to see. That's obviously been being used by a bunch of people as a third or a second display that then gets captured and then sent out other places instead of using a virtual camera or NDI out. Or they can use that to output to a live capture device instead of a Blackmagic device or an AJA device to do the professional one. They output audio over HDMI as well as send a picture out over HDMI. So this is probably the rebuild for that. Obviously the audio meters probably will be a disconnect from that, but good to see the audio meters in there as well for anybody who's using the multi-view as an actual multi-view. Things like the made for kids. Look, this is specs. This is literally like, I'm glad to see this is in here. I'll never do that. I don't produce content for kids, made for kids, but Understandable. If you do stream out for kids, that is definitely something that YouTube does require. Good to see that in there. Output statistics for RTMP destinations. I'm not going to take a look at this tonight, but this is definitely something that we want to take a look at. That's interesting to see that they're looking at the output stats. I'd love to see this for if you're doing any type of output, NDI output, SDI output. Right now, that whole window is just blocked out unless you're live streaming out or recording. None of those settings are basically shown, or none of those stats are shown unless you're doing anything associated to encoding on Wirecast. Just give us that data as open that up and just show us it. We might not be using Wirecast to do the encoding. Maybe this is the first steps for that. The text widget to improve performance of scrolling text, sure. Something I don't really use, but good if you're rewriting and redoing a lot of those types of things. Let's see what else here. Storage of thumbnails to reduce file size. Interesting. I didn't think that you actually did document thumbnails to begin with, but sure. I wonder if this has anything to do with the other bug where NDI sources and other media sources that are in a document that you remove from the document are not actually removed from the document XML file. Yes, that WCST file is just an XML file been renamed. Although Wirecast does not support you going in and changing it, it does work. They specifically say, hey, don't go changing that. But honestly, open it up, take a look. You can edit those things all you want and then save it and then obviously use that. Don't cry to them if your file breaks after that. But hey, look, if you got to clean up a 5 megabyte file to pull some assets out of there, like a Titler Live shot, then that's available for you to do. I do have other videos on the channel to show you how to do that. There was another one in here that I did see, a remove all, I believe it is. Remove all missing sources. Yeah, delete all. So there's a delete all for the asset manager. This delete all, I'm really interested to see whether or not this removes only the missing assets or all of the assets. Obviously, you'd want to have an option to do both, but clearly they need to have a remove all missing assets, as that can be a concern if you have like the same document and template over and over and over again. Personally, I'd like to see a show me all the assets that are missing and let me reassign this one to this, this to this, this to this in a grid form rather than having that giant window of like red things. For that, again, that's over and above. I haven't even submitted that as a bug or feature. The system now works. It's just a bit intrusive to have to go item by item, especially when it overlays on top of it and stuff like that. Also, what would be really good is just being able to reassign a value to say, hey, cool, the file system path, here was the file system, here's the new file system, just use these instead. So if you created a template, you'd be able to reassign those things. Clearly not going to happen in this one. I haven't even submitted it to the bug, but it's good to see that they're taking a look at obviously improving that section of assets as well. But yeah, Wirecast 8K, super interesting to see that. I wonder if we can get our hands on doing something along those lines. NDI audio. Now, NDI audio you were able to do before, but it was having an issue where NDI audio, even if you were bringing in an NDI only audio source, it would still have video on that NDI. So you'd have like NDI audio logo as a video source on top of your other video assets if that was in the layers. So it's interesting to see this added the ability to bring in an NDI audio only layer. So we'll see if it adds that thing. That's technically always been possible. I'm surprised they're saying that it's a new improved or new feature when it should be a fix if that is indeed removing that logo. So where were we? So we were NDI HX. Obviously, anybody using some of the newer devices, this is going to be interesting to see. Canvas size limitations are, whatever, great. So yeah, let's take a look at some of these things. Now, I'm not going to go through line by line. If you want to take a look at this, go to the forums. Honestly, 13.2 beta, it's there. There's a ton of improvements that they've done to this, and obviously they have their issues still. So yeah, let's dive right in. So I have brand new installation. Let's open up Wirecast. Again, this is all brand new settings, not done anything with this. Let's create a new doc. Interesting. New continue has a green highlight on there. Cool. So not much changed overall here. We're showing 4, and obviously that 5th layer is down there, even on a 1080p screen. They're just having it default in to come in so that you see the nice larger windows here. I like seeing that 5th layer. That 5th layer, always, always, always for me coming in as the audio layer because there's no static audio mixer. So first and foremost, let's add my camera. So I've got the NDI HX. So sure enough, that is 1920 by 1080 coming in at the proper resolution, fairly quick. Interesting. So canvas size says it's an auto at 1920 by 1080. That's correct. It should be. But my 1080 camera is coming in at 66.7. That's definitely not right. So I bet money down if I go and I change the canvas size here to 1920 by 1080. Yep, sure enough, that is not originally 1920 by 1080. And that is clearly what that is. I think I saw in here canvas size, auto canvas size was sometimes reporting the wrong resolution. That is under fixes. Clearly, that is not fixed. So again, that is simply, let me just close this down here. Don't save. Wirecast, brand new install of 13. Yeah. It's not technically running. Go away. Ugh, too slow to close down. Let's check this out. So 17.373, opening up Wirecast. You are not running in the background, Wirecast. Like, just open up. Come on. Thank you. Okay, continue this. Right click, video capture, coming in here. Clearly that is stating that it's 1080 because that's the virtual camera is supposed to be here. Auto is 1920 by 1080. Heck, you know what? I've seen this before, and we're going to guess this. I bet, yep, doing the same thing. I bet even if I clicked on 1920 by 1080 as the auto, it'll still be wrong. Indeed it is. So yeah, that auto canvas size clearly is not working as expected. That is still an issue. But let's get beyond that. That's always been an issue for quite some time. They clearly can't figure that out. So I'm going to drop that down here, push that live here, and let's try doing a new text overlay. So we've got our text element here. Let's just change some stuff here just to make it a little bit more legible on top of me. That's actually worse. So let's stick back over to the white here. Let's try doing a new... Wait, wasn't there supposed to be a new pop-up? Is it under... No, that's under size. I thought it was a new pop-up. Text, fixed text overflow, no. Updated text, rewrote the text widget to improve that. Okay. I thought they rewrote a new window. Oh, did I see the properties of that? Text properties, shadow for more clarity. That's an old bug that I've had. That's just cool. Your labeling is wrong because it's different than other things. Interesting to see that. But yeah, so label, no, window, text window, window, no, font picker, just select font variant, smoother scrolling on a font picker, okay, added a font face pop-up, okay, that is not a font face, that's a like menu pop-up, but that's an option tool. Okay, so let's just take a look here to doing Bodoni. So Bodoni, font face condensed. Hey, they now have proper text. Let's try seeing. There's a couple of things to add into here. Periods first, numbers. Oh, so here was one of the kickers that I had always seen with this. You'll note the N in that is actually getting cut off. So if I select you here, the N in that is definitely getting cut off because of how the text and characters end up working. Let me just change that to a much larger typeface font family size, typeface size. Sure, that's definitely working, but that is clearly getting cut off on that. I'm trying to think of a better way to show this. Maybe condensed? No, okay. Italic doesn't do it. Black italic? Yeah, here's an example. So this is black italic on that. If I open up Illustrator, I'm going to show you what that actually ends up being and why that is still being cut off. This means that if you have text aligned to the left, you will have it always cut off on the left-hand side for serifs, as well as other typeface families. Letters and numbers themselves often had the 0 that was leaning out. Anything that was oblique or had the character size a little larger was an issue. This clearly isn't taking that into account. So let me just open up another document here, and I'm going to actually move Illustrator over here, and I'm going to say new text, just to keep it the same, right? So if we go here, and I believe it was just Bodoni black italic. So Bodoni black italic, right? So that is not the same as that. See how it extends out? That's being cut off. Now, clearly you can have a space in there, but that's going to completely mess up your size of the dimensions on this. Not only that, but when you do things like bring in a file or read from a file, that file, you're not going to be able to determine, obviously, that space character in front of any of those characters that you need. So, look, I'm going to give them kudos. Yes, absolutely, that works. But it still needs work. Cannot express how glad I am to see, obviously, the thing working. Accents grotesque. Let's try a super here. Yeah, that's working. There's a couple typefaces that I do know that did have issues. Franklin Gothic, I think, was definitely one of them with the condensed demi had issues. I believe that is condensed demi there, if I'm not mistaken. So clearly wow, thank you, center that. Great. That does look correct, at least for that. Condensed demi, condensed medium, yep. Let's do demi italic. Indeed, that is correct. So it looks like the font families are working. They just need to work on their ability to, thank you. They just need to work on their ability to not have it get cut off on all the typefaces. Using, obviously, the text for that, or simply not masking the text to the box itself. If you have a text element here, it should not be cut off by the box. You should have an overflow to this. Anyway, great to see. Awesome. Let's take a look at the next one. So we've seen two things there. What else can we take a look at really quick, as this has been going on for about 18 or so minutes? NDI GPU. So let's take a look. Right now we have, Task Manager. We can pull up OBS as a system thing. No, it's Wirecast. So Wirecast is currently using this. Expand that out. Wirecast is currently using about 5%, 6% GPU. So if we go and we say, great, you know what, let's go and capture our, say, screen capture. Do I even have Scan Converter up and running? I do. So network, Scan Converter, let's just bring in this screen back into itself here. So I'm going to bring this screen back in. Let's move this around a bit and have that. So it is obviously running in there and back over to the live area here. If we go back into here, 7%, 8%, clearly that is definitely using that. CPU level still nice and small, meaning yes, NDI is now using GPU to do the decoding. That is freaking awesome. I cannot express how awesome that is. It is great to see. And I do have live icons on down here, and you can see they are pretty smooth as well. So that live icon thing that just came in by default, general, I'm going to try not to show my serial number here. Live icons under advanced, Yeah, video rate display is only 30, and I did not disable the live icons. Shot display, did they move it? Yeah, there we go. Highest frame rate. So clearly I'm doing that as well, but this is a beefy system. So keep in mind, if you don't have a beefy system, you probably want to disable that. So that is great. I'm going to delete those two things and click on over. Great. God, I wish they would change that smooth into something not slowest goddamn thing in the world. But whatever. NDI out. Let's check another thing here. If I go to virtual camera and I say QVC, so that's super interesting. That probably aligns up to the canvas size here. All I did was change the virtual camera out. Now, why did it change my canvas size if I also have my NDI and whatnot here? So let me do virtual camera and let me say 1080p. Then let me go and say, great, I want to do this. Now I'm going to say virtual camera down to this. Cool. So if I go auto for canvas size, why is that happening when I say, let's do NDI out, right? So NDI now is started that. And then I'm going to say virtual camera. I can't even change this anymore. So I can't change the virtual camera dimension if I'm currently outputting NDI. Now, obviously, I can't even start any outputs. Okay, so let me stop this. Let me go change canvas size, virtual camera here. I'm going to say virtual camera start. Really? It's been installed before. Okay, sure, install that. Great. Whatever. So virtual camera start, 1080p, right? Decklink out, start, canvas size. I can go and I can change my canvas size here. If I go stop, I'm currently outputting, right, on NDI, and now I can't change this, but I can change my actual canvas size. I can't. So why are you telling me different things here? Sorry. Why are you telling me different things that I can change it here, but I can't change it, but you're graying this out? Like, consistency people here, like this is, I can't change anything here because I'm outputting NDI, so I need to stop NDI. NDI has been set. Canvas size is auto. Again, changing this to here changes the resolution, and obviously all my cameras aren't doing proportional. So again, that's a canvas size issue here. I need to basically set that. So your auto canvas size is clearly not up and running like it should be here. Yeah, let's see if we get that fixed as well. So, what else can we do? Add source, Luma key and chroma keying. Look, I'm not gonna lie, I don't have it set up right now. This is great to see. I love this. This is truly awesome. The clipping here, the fact that you have what essentially amounts to fine, refined details here, like this is gold. I'm gonna have to test this a little later on. The solidify, the edge coloring, great. Not gonna lie, this is actually really good. The color key versus chroma key, great, awesome. It's picking up a couple of things already. The fact that I have these, I cannot tell you, I am dying to dive into this. To the point where I might actually, after this, throw up the green screen just to give this a try. This is truly like goosebumps. Cannot wait. This is the best green screen thing I've seen yet to date from any of the software that I've looked at. Very similar to like the ATEM stuff, but this seems more intuitive. Yeah, very excited to see this. Very happy to see that that has been implemented. Implemented a menu and menu items under switch menu that restores toggling layers. Switch, speed transition. Come on, just default to faster. Come on, people. Auto live preview swap. Always, oh my god, why are people not using this as the default? Layer visibility, sure, awesome. Stinger transitions, great. Awesome. Not much changes here that I can see that's too important. What else do we have? I think for the most part, these are the ones that I really wanted to test. The other thing that I noticed that isn't on here is transform. Obviously, the transform properties just aren't here anymore. What I can do... Let me get rid of this camera here. And then actually, I should be able to say web camera. Yep. So if I do virtual input, and I set my virtual input to, let's do the camera. And then I'm going to say network, and then NDI signal. No, come on. Network. Powerhouse. There it is. Cool. So that's going to do the connection. Great. It's got the connection. Ooh, there's actually a toggle for the GPU decoding. Interesting. That's very unclear, though. So the GPU decoding, I didn't notice this last time, but that GPU decoding, it would be great to actually see a label that says active and inactive, because you have like all of these different things of gray and white, but which side is that actually doing it? Am I doing it now because that was the default, or am I doing it now because the gray box on this, sorry, I guess I should, the gray box on this here, it's on the left here, it's on the right here, but you use white to do the highlighting in other places. So this is just, it's unclear. Tell me, put on GPU decoding enabled, disabled, or just make it clear. The red green that you're doing in other locations would be great to have here. But when you have white and gray being used here, it does not signify, especially with that new highlighting green. I'm assuming, yeah, it's an accessibility thing here that you have. So at the moment, I can't tell if that's using it or not. Yeah, so that'd be really good to know. In fact, actually, let me just toss up Task Manager right now and find out. Wirecast. Here you are here. So you are currently using 7.4. If I disable that, you are using 5.8, 7.6.7. Okay, so 1.2, 6.4. And I toss that on. No difference to that. Am I seeing more CPU? So 1.1 versus 1.5, 1.6, 1.5. So yeah, I can't really tell the difference between these two. So I would love to know which one's decoding, which one's not. Let me know. Great to see that you have it in there. Which was which? Anyway, that being said, so we are currently doing, I believe, 1920 by 1080 because my video here is 1080. If I go and I say push you live, which is now, this is the live one that's over here, I'm going to change the resolution of that to 30. That should technically have worked. It might not have, though. Oh, because virtual camera is an NDI signal. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to instead do it in this direction. So that's going to be 1280 by 720, which is right. Come on, where are you? Why can I not find you? 1280 by 720. There you are. So, changing the resolution clearly still scales it down, and I don't see any way to keep it above. Just no way whatsoever at all. The assets for this, the NDI, I'm not seeing a method to do. Okay, that's a source. There's a new way of doing the if a source drops. So, for instance, if I just stopped doing that, if I said exit, right? That's that gray question mark that we all love to hate. But how do I change that to be not that? Ooh, interesting. Oh, new scaling for that. Interesting indeed. I guess that's the thumbnails. Yeah, so where do I find the ability to change the settings for the missing files here? Advanced. Here it is. So, default, transparent, or custom. So, that's not on an image by image basis. This is what I was afraid of. They are doing missing media image. If I go transparent and I say this, great. Let me toss on scan converter again. Okay, scan converter picked up. And it has not replaced the content. So again, I'm going to push that live. Here's the missing content on the right hand side. I'm going to go and I'm going to say change the resolution. Also, what's interesting is I didn't scale that up. in that it just automatically took it. Right, because they have that other bug that says it's 150% because it keeps it proper, the scaling proper. So again, if I go and I say change this to 1920 by 1080, right? So the live has fixed its, has not done the proper thing. It's scaled to increase, but the preview over there, I guess, depending on what you're looking at there, the preview has stayed proper. That window has stayed full screen. The live has not. Whatever. Nonetheless, so we've got that. I have it set to be transparent. I'm going to say exit this, which means my whole video disappears, right? All the video disappears. I am now transparent. There's nothing on the screen now. Great. It's better than a red question mark. I get that, especially if you have other graphics. But let's see what happens when we come back. I'm going to bring back that source. So this is basically like somebody reconnecting in like Rendezvous or Skype connection rehappening. Nothing happens. The preview, again, picks it back up, instantly shows it, right? In the proper resolution, I might add, but I need to go and I need to say, push that to the live now. This is still broken. I truly, truly wish that I had the ability to say per asset. So again, I like the fact that you're adding it into here, maybe as a, here's the global setting for Wirecast to always use if this isn't set. Here's the standard one to do that. But under the shot layer properties, have it so that this asset has done that. Or you know what? Have it in the source properties of the video source. This way you only need to have it for an NDI or for a video or for anything that's coming in, a rendezvous guest. Have it so that that's where your asset is. Having it on a global level, especially when you don't have it so that it updates the program out, is not a fix. It's a good step forward. It is not a fix. So anyway, rendezvous questions and characters, great, sure, awesome. I don't know why you'd have that anyway in there, considering there's no chat. Sending view web services, encoding your preset spontaneously after you create an event. Sure. That's interesting that that's a bug. ISO. Can I do ISOs? ISO start all. Can I add an ISO of an NDI source? I am seeing add a source. It looks like I can. Now, interestingly, I'm not using those things, but it's definitely an available option here. So that's a good thing. Hopefully those ISOs are able to be used by other, like another tool or whatnot. I love seeing this audio source. You're able to do an audio source for that. Can you do the Wirecast output is the question. Let's see. Elgato, Wasp, no. No, I'm not seeing Wirecast audio as an output. Really disappointing to see that. Audio source, I'd love to see like just the output of that as the source for that. It's not a big ask, I know, but like, come on, this is exactly what you should be doing. You should allow for the output of audio, especially if you're going through like a decklink output or an external encoder. You should be able to ISO as well as on top of that and just record that as your output. It helps being able to pair up NDI signals to a global output to be able to be matched up later. Come on, that's just no brainer. Facebook recently, yeah, nobody cares about that shit. Bitrate peaking, yeah, that's always been an issue. I'm glad they're looking at the behavior of this. The peak bitrate behavior, for anybody who doesn't know on Apple, if you did like a scene transition, the peak would be so high, Facebook would boot you off. And this is just a behavior at Apple, unless you had a flag in the Apple encoding to say, do not go above this. So you'd have like a slide with nothing happening and be like 700 kilobits per second. And all of a sudden you do a transition over to live video and your bit rate would jump to like 17,000 kilobits per second. And Facebook's just like, nope, I'm out. Really, really bad. And it was a flag that you could just enable. It's not by default. It's hidden in the Apple documentation. It's been noted in the past. I'm hoping to see hopefully some good things happening here. Let's see, what else can we find up here? Just randomly checking. CPU data for trace logging. Great. Looks like they're definitely trying to nail down some of those bugs. Output settings UI has some major alignment issues. Sure. Okay. Wirecast deselect and select. Copyright date in the about window. Okay. Good to know that that's part of your list of things that were fixed, considering that's normally a perpetual ongoing thing. But sure. Clocking output, reconnecting or reconfiguring NDI outputs. That does seem faster going back in and out. I'd love to test some of the speed with that. OBS has a recent thing where it's in a low latency mode for that. Super low latency, actually really fast. I've seen it actually faster than a NDI monitor in some cases, having a small buffer there. Events going live, ISO recording becomes unavailable, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, honestly, I think what's really coming down to is I'm going to test a few more things out and see what else I come up with. But I really can't wait to get my hands on that green screen, that chroma keying. Not something I generally do, but definitely an ad. Honestly, though, until I start seeing those transform implementations up to date, cropping, templating, ability to set a crop for the entire thing, as well as a placeholder image for a specific source. Wirecast is still second in my list of usage tools. Really good to see the advancements that are happening now. Cannot say enough. Like, yes, great. The fact that you have the fonts up and running, awesome. Let's take it one step further and not mask things to the entire box. There was one last thing I wanted to check with the fonts. I know, really long video here, but let us check one last thing. Overlays. Just pull the same text. That's fine. I'm going to pull myself in here. Great. Come on. Just, no, select the text. Thank you. If I go and I say, it's over here? Yeah. So I'm going to say there is a background solid. Okay. Background none. Now I'm going to adjust the angle and add a shadow to this. Hey, they did fix that. Here's another problem that I'm also seeing with the same reason. Do not crop the text element to the box. Is that shadow is now being completely cropped by the box. Don't do that. Like, it shouldn't do that. Oh, interesting. Did I just hit a crash? I might have just. Oh, and I just. Of course, I just crashed and I wasn't doing. Gosh darn it. Close the program. Okay. Oh, picture in picture. No. Picture in picture. Interesting. I wasn't even doing the thing for that. Okay, so let's open this up again. Basically, I was doing text font. Sure. Upload. Great. Upload that. I will fill that out in a minute. Don't recover. Continue. So let's just do this quickly because I'm an idiot and didn't actually have my camera up for the screen as I was doing it. So overlays, text overlay here. Up you. Great. Here. So here's the new text. And again, I'm going to select the text. If I go and I add a shadow to this, and I add an offset to this, and I add a blur to this, right? And let's just change the angle down low. See how the shadow is getting cut off by the box? That's bad. That shouldn't happen. Like, the box should not cut off the text shadow. That means everything you do needs to be within that box. That's wrong. Don't do that. Stop doing that. The one thing that I was testing here originally was if you had a background, right, like this, and then you made any other adjustment. So if I said, cool, it's a solid background, great, I'm going to disable that background. Now I'm going to change the font size to anything else, right? It would previously have a background, again, even with it disabled. So they've clearly fixed that. That's good. But what I'm seeing here with the shadow, like, you can't do the shadow. Interesting. Where did the text go? Shadow off. Where'd the text go? 43. Nope. Okay, well, the text just disappeared. Let's try doing that again. Text, new text, add that here. Okay. Let's try this again. Wirecast. It's probably open still. Yeah, it's still open, which means I gotta give it. Okay. Wirecast. Great. Open up. Again, video capture. Let's just throw me onto there. This to overlays, text. Great. With this open, let's go shadow, shadow, shadow. Move you around a little bit here. What did I do? 73. Some moving weirdly. Background solid. Background none. Moving this around. That's super weird. 71. I don't know. This is... Solid. Interesting. That should have a solid background too now. I just put... yeah. So something's up with the text elements again. That should have a solid background now, but it is not. I don't know. Might have broken it if I push to live. Nope, nothing. Obviously changing the blur. You can see here very clearly that the offset is being cut off on that. I don't know why there's no background. Linear gradient? Nope. Radial gradient? Nope. None? Sure. Solid? Yeah. So text engine definitely needs some work still. It's not perfect. It never has been. I think even in its current state, I don't trust it. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I would not trust that just yet. Sorry, team, but I'm not going to say back to this drawing board, but like, yeah, with it being cut off, masked on the on both sides or any of the sides for that, and now apparently background's not even working anymore. Definitely broken. At any rate, I think really comes down to it's a beta. It is what it is. We obviously can't expect too much from beta other than to test it out. So be sure, if you want to download it in an environment that you're not going to be using this in production, clearly. Give your feedback to them. They need the feedback. I'll be posting this video in that. It is a long one. Like I said, this is about a 45-minute long video. I doubt that the whole thing will be watched, but this is my first impressions of 13.2. And the things that I care about, at least. And the things that I care about right now, most of them aren't working. Fonts almost there, but that's a 6-year-old bug that I've had now to even add to. Hey, at least I have the typefaces working, and so long as I'm not doing certain typefaces or I'm able to customize a lot of the stuff, sure, I can use it, but not without the transformer video. And at the moment, seeing things like the output and like if I'm the transform not coming in right, like come on, like 1080p, why is everything being rescaled to different variations and sizes here? Like this shouldn't be. It should be defaulting to 1920 by 1080, and my scaling and cropping should be perfect every time. Close. Can't wait for a 13.2 live release. See if some of these things are fixed. At any rate, thanks a lot if you've been sticking around to the end of this. Appreciate it. I'm not going to do the whole like give a thumbs up and whatnot. But what I am going to do is, hey, are you having the same problems? If so, comment. Don't subscribe. I don't have enough quality content on here to subscribe to. But comment. I do read those comments because, quite frankly, I don't get a lot of them. I get notifications. That bar's generally not notified. Send a comment. Hopefully they see it. Other than that, I will see you next time.